Immerse yourself in the profound insights offered by Father Chuck Belmonte as he delves into daily reflections on various gospel passages from the Bible.
Why should I go to confession? Lent is the most opportune time for considering how we receive the sacrament of penance, that meeting with Christ, who makes himself present in the priest. In it, he welcomes us as the Good Shepherd. He heals our wounds. He cleanses us and strengthens us. When we go to receive this sacrament, we must think of Christ above all else. We must make sure he is the center of this sacramental act. We need to look at Jesus much more than at ourselves. We must keep our eyes on his goodness rather than on our own wretchedness, because interior life is a dialogue of love in which God is always the point of reference. Every contrite confession is a drawing near to the holiness of God, a rediscovery of one's true identity which has been damaged by sin, a liberation in the very depth of oneself, and thus a regaining of lost joy, the joy of being saved, which the majority of people in our time are no longer capable of experiencing. It is up to us to help others to be aware of, to experience, a sense of loss of God, so that they may draw close to him, for he is waiting for them. The desire that we have to make Christ the center of our confession is important if we are to avoid routine. Previously, we need to make a good examination of conscience. We must go to confession to ask for absolution for our faults, as we would beg for alms that we would not deserve. But we go with confidence, trusting not in our merits, but in his mercy, which is eternal and infinite and always ready to forgive. He asks us only to acknowledge our faults, to humbly and sincerely acknowledge our debt. That is why we go to confession, so that the person who takes God's place and acts on God's behalf can forgive us for him. It is not so much that he should understand or encourage us. We go to ask for forgiveness. That is why accusing ourselves of our sins does not consist simply in recounting them, because it is not a question of an historical account of our transgressions, but of sincerely and truly accusing ourselves of them. I accuse myself of. Saint Josemaria used to advise us that our confession should be concise, concrete, clear, complete. Concise, confession with few words, just the words that are needed to say humbly what we have done or have failed to do, without any unnecessary elaboration or adornment. Concrete, without digression, without generalities. The penitent will declare his sins, the time that has elapsed since his last confession, the surrounding circumstances that have a bearing on his faults, so that the confessor can judge, absolve, and heal. Clear. A confession where we make ourselves understood. Complete, integral confession, without leaving anything out through a false sense of shame, so as not to appear bad in the confessor's eyes. The sincere confession of our faults always leaves great peace and joy in the soul.
I would be delighted to extend an invitation to you once again tomorrow for another insightful reflection on the Gospel by Father Belmonte.